Hello my friends, and welcome back to another Brotato Ultimate Nightmares run, where we take the characters that are hardest to beat in the new Nightmare mode, as chosen by you, and try to win with them. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're playing the Chunky, which is particularly difficult in Nightmare mode for a couple reasons. One is that your healing is typically much worse than a normal character, because you can't use lifesteal and you can't effectively use regeneration. And two, lowered speed modifiers are actually a real challenge on Nightmare mode. It makes staying ahead of the enhanced enemies much more difficult on this more difficult game mode. So the Chunky does have some real challenges that it has to overcome. Now, the bonus HP and the bonus percent damage that you get from HP are definitely strong upsides, and we're going to use the weapon that I think is bar none the best for this character, and that is the Spoon. It scales the damage of the weapon off of maximum health. We're going to get extra maximum health, and then we'll also increase our damage proportional to our maximum health. So our max HP is going to be doing quadruple value for this character. Spoon is also just a broken weapon in general, so I think if you are ever struggling to win a run, and Spoon is an option for a weapon for that character, it's almost always going to be a good one. It's similar to like SMG or Icicle or something like that, in that it is just always a great option. Now, one of the downsides of the weapon is its relatively slow attack speed, so we are just going to take 5% attack speed here. We'll go ahead and buy a Spoon. We buy regen at half rate, and that'll include the extra regen that we get from penguins, but we will still probably want some regeneration, so I'm going to leave penguin in the pool. Feather I will ban. You buy dodge at half rate on this character, so we're basically never going to buy dodge. Broken Mouth and Loot Worm I'll lock. Loot Worm I really like on Nightmare mode, and we want as much max HP as we can get. Then we'll buy a Spoon, and we'll keep rolling until we can buy another one. Now, the other advantage of Spoon, of course, is that it has automatic crits against burning targets. So we get the option to buy Scared Sausage basically as 25% crit chance for a level 1 item, which is an incredibly powerful item. And it's actually better than that, because once it sets enemies on fire, all of your attacks against that enemy will be critical forever. And so you end up with buying something like 50% on average crit chance for the one item. I'm going to reroll here, and we'll take attack speed. I would take HP over this attack speed, because max HP is so important to this weapon and to this character, but when we're not offered that, we'll just take the attack speed. One other advantage, of course, of using Spoon on the Chunky is that this is a blunt weapon, and that normally decreases your movement speed, which is a very severe downside. But since the Chunky has negative 100% move speed modifiers, you can fully ignore that downside. So it lets you use this very powerful weapon without one of the major drawbacks. Here, we'll just take 5% more attack speed and then 6 HP. Perfect. We'll buy a Spoon, we'll buy Broken Mouth and Loot Worm. I'm going to ban Small Fish because I don't want to lower my attack speed, and it's kind of a bad item. And then we'll lock Scar and ban Mutation. We're not actually, even though we'll buy Scared Sausage, we're not going to build elemental damage on this character. Unless, I mean, maybe if we got an early Will-O-Wisp, we might consider it, but we're happy just killing things with our Spoons. This weapon hits so hard and is so easy to scale that we're going to be able to make that work regardless. Also, if we don't find a Scared Sausage, it's not a big deal. A powerful weapon that scales off of our max HP is still just a great weapon, even if we don't ever find the automatic critical hits. So you do not have to get lucky enough to find that item in order to make this weapon function. It just gives you an extra option for kind of auto-winning the run. We'll take the Scar here, and then we'll reroll. We'll go ahead and ban Dynamite. So crit chance is okay on Spoons if we don't find Scared Sausage. I'm probably not going to just buy crit chance on Spec, though, because this weapon will get increased crit multiplier as it levels up. But I'm not going to buy crit chance until later, so I'm just going to ban the Insanity, because banning level 1 items makes the Scared Sausage more likely to appear. We're also not going to buy melee damage unless it shows up in a really convenient way, because we'd rather just buy max HP, does the same thing more efficiently, and also gives us percent damage, and of course, max health, both of which are very good stats as well. Gonna let the loot worm do its job and kill that tree while I focus on killing that cursed enemy. And of course we're on the abyss, so I do want to build curse. If you're really struggling with this run, you can also avoid curse, because on slow-moving melee characters, curse can be a little more dangerous, especially when we get to the vampire squids and the anemones later on. But because we're going to be building a lot of HP, that makes it a little easier. I'm going to roll a couple times here. I guess I'll just take 5 attack speed. And then here's a good spot to take melee damage. We'll just take 6. Spoon has 50% melee damage scaling, so it can still be worth buying the +3 melee damage, or +3 damage on each of our attacks, instead of re-rolling there. Now, I don't really want to reduce my armor, but an early wheelbarrow is a really good economy boost, so I will take it. We'll lock the spoon. We're definitely going to build Clover, because extra luck is really important to this character. All of our healing is going to be from consumables for most of the run, so building extra luck is going to be a strong healing item for us. I mistimed both of my charges at the anemones there. You want to wait until it attacks and then move close to it. And when they overlap like this, it can be very hard not to take a hit from them. So that's why a slow-moving melee character can struggle. Now, being melee, of course, is not as bad on the Abyss, because we don't have to contend with the summoners, we don't have to contend with the eggs just naturally spawning. We can just kill the hatchers to stop those from happening. And we also, of course, don't trigger the mechanics that punish you for being melee on this map, or for being ranged on this map. I'm going to roll here. We'll take 3 armor. That's perfect. Okay, we did find a scared sausage. Obviously, that's incredible. That's going to massively increase our damage output. We're going to ban the boxing glove, take our reroll, and then, yeah, I'll just buy all of this stuff. Do I think I'm going to be able to afford all of this? Because if I can, I should just lock the book, and then we can ban it for a free reroll. But I'm not 100% certain that we're going to have enough money at the end of this wave. If the wave goes badly, then we might not be able to afford all 3 of those items. So I'm not going to lock something in preparation for a free ban if that might not happen. So one reason that this combo is so broken, of course, is that they changed the mechanics when they introduced Will-O-Wisp to make it so that an enemy, it checks to see, Scared Sausage checks to see whether it sets an enemy on fire before the attack actually lands. So if you set an enemy on fire with an attack from a spoon, that attack itself will be a guaranteed critical hit. So you'll notice that often our first attack against these enemies is a crit. We'll take the metal here, that's perfect, and then I'm going to reroll. I'm looking for attack speed, I'm looking for max HP. I think I'll roll again, and we'll take 9 more max health. I was right not to lock the extra item here, because I won't be able to afford all 3 of these items. But let's upgrade our weapon, and then we'll buy the defective steroids, and we'll do a reroll. Do I want another wheelbarrow? I think we can get away with this and then lock the coffee. Because I found Scared Sausage, we're really strong right now. So I'm pretty happy just doing that. Garden is a great healing item for the Chunky with our extra consumable healing. And Small Magazine, I'm going to take as well. I'm pretty desperate for attack speed on this weapon, so even though it costs me 6% damage and the ranged damage is useless, you can still buy Small Magazine on melee characters. Attack speed is just probably, in a vacuum, the second best stat in the game after armor, but basically every character needs as much attack speed as you can get. And in particular on this weapon, it's especially strong because it attacks fairly slowly by default. And melee weapons need a lot of attack speed because you want to be able to kill enemies as they get close to you before they have a chance to hit you. I guess I'm not getting this Curse Alien kill. No, I did get it. Nice. We'll take the Lemonade. Obviously, more consumable healing is great. We want high armor. We want high luck, so we'll take all of that. We will buy the Coffee Garden, and I can't afford anything else here. But we can buy the Scar and lock a spoon. Getting all of our spoons up to level 3, or level 2, is going to be really important. The damage scaling from health increases every level, and with 73 max HP, you can see that our base damage is starting to get really strong. I sometimes see people suggesting other weapons on this character, and I just think that's bonkers. This weapon is so strong for the Chunky that using anything else just makes... I mean, obviously you can, but you're going to make yourself significantly weaker compared to using Spoon. This weapon is both extremely powerful in a vacuum and synergizes perfectly with this character. So... making basically any other choice is going to make your character significantly weaker. We made great money there. I'm just going to recycle the laser turret. We're interested in just killing things with our spoons. Unfortunately, we buy dodge at half rate, so I can't really just take the 12 dodge here. We'll just take the HP, though. And then this is not a guaranteed... this really tried to trick me, the game here, because it gave me 4 purple upgrades, and we're level 14, not level 15, so this is not a guaranteed purple upgrade. I actually don't really want any of these, but I think what I might do, because I could... the crit chance is basically useless. We have Scared Sausage for guaranteed crits. The Harvesting is a little late. Lifesteal is completely useless to this character. So I might actually just take the 45 range here, because it's up against... nothing else that we want. It's a level 3 upgrade on a level where we're not guaranteed to see a level 3 upgrade. So picking up a little bit of range just to make some of the boss waves a little easier, I think makes sense there. Range, when you get a level 3 or 4 range upgrade and it's up against nothing else that you want, that's the time when it's at least somewhat efficient to pick up range. We have 2 items locked here, so no point in re-rolling, even though it's a relatively cheap re-roll for 12. So far we've just built pretty much only maximum health, attack speed, and some defensive stats. And you can see that we're kind of cruising. Obviously, there have been a couple waves where I've needed to have slightly better movement, but for the most part, all you have to do is just build the stats that you would intuitively expect would be strong on this character, and then you should be able to just one-shot enemies. Now, having found the Scared Sausage, of course, helps with that. We're getting these guaranteed crits, but even without those, on enemies that we're not getting crits against, you can see we still kill them really, really fast, thanks to the fact that our damage scales off our max HP and we have 100. Lowering my consumable healing is definitely dangerous. Alien Worm, of course, gives max HP, but I think I'm just going to recycle it. Consumable healing is so important to this character. Now we have a guaranteed level 3 level up, so let's roll for armor or max HP or attack speed. I'll take the 3 armor here, then I will roll, and we'll take 9 max HP. Armor, of course, is great there, but max health on the Chunky, when using Spoon, you can't pass it. And it's level 3 upgrade. I could buy the recycling machine because we're going into an elite wave. I feel pretty confident that we're going to kill the elite. So this is kind of insurance against getting a bad upgrade from the elite. Alien Eyes is a reasonable addition. It scales also off of max health, and this can help us kill elites faster. Now, we don't really have a problem with that on this character, so I think I'm going to roll past the Alien Eyes and just look for defensive stats or level ups for our spoons, things like that. I will level our spoon here. Glass cannon, that's a lot of damage. I do have only 12 armor, which is a reasonable amount, but I think we're going to play it safe, and we'll pass on the glass cannon and just keep rolling for items that go with our core plan. Lowering your armor, of course, is dangerous, and, in my opinion here, pretty unnecessary, because our damage is fine. This elite, definitely a challenging one to fight as a melee character, but as you saw, our damage was high enough that we just wipe the floor with it. I also think that this is a good spot to talk about adding incidental elemental damage, because that's something that I think people really get trapped by frequently. Throwing scared sausages and buying elemental damage into runs that where there's no reason to do that. Like here, for example, we already have the scared sausage. So let's say I was able to get 10 elemental damage for free. Then my scared sausage burning ticks would be doing about 10 to 15 damage a tick. And and you might think that would make them a reasonable addition to the build. But compare that to the 200 damage criticals that I'm doing just by hitting with my weapon. You can see that we'd be investing a lot of money into building elemental damage for a very tiny proportion of our overall damage. It's almost always better just to focus on improving the thing that your character is trying to do than to try to make it do a second entirely unrelated thing in addition to what you're trying to do. So this is a really funny item, Estes couch here. We do have a recycling machine, so we could get 140 materials for it. But we're the chunky, so our speed is multiplied by minus 100%. So we are not going to change our speed at all by buying Estes couch. So basically here we have the choice of, do I want 140 materials or do I want 5 HP? We're the chunky, I'm just going to take the health. I'll take 12% damage here, and then we'll buy the lemonade, re-roll. A cursed spoon is, of course, an incredible find. I'm going to take candy bag as well. As you saw, we were able to just obliterate elites, so I'm not worried about that at all. Our treasure map has been really bad so far. We've gotten a bunch of crates, and it hasn't done anything, so hopefully that changes. But a mid-game candy bag is going to give me so many stats that it's always worth picking up here. And the cursed spoon, increasing its damage scaling, increasing its crit scaling, is going to make that weapon do even more wild damage. I think that 400 damage crit was the cursed one. Get another curse alien kill, and we'll keep taking out these cursed enemies. And again, you can see, even when we don't get a critical hit, we're still getting really good value just from having massive base damage on our weapon. So here I could take 60 range. Now this is up against a stat we actually care about, so I'm just going to take the 15 luck. I'm going to roll here and take 10% attack speed, and then we'll go ahead and combine. We'll take the bean teacher and the treasure map. Starfish would be good. We already have one greedy economy item that makes the run more dangerous, though. And I find Starfish really bad in Nightmare mode. It often puts you over the top to the point where enemies are breaking the threshold that they need to kill you faster. And the income isn't going to kick in for several more waves. So it just makes the wave like 11 through 15 point in the game, which is the most dangerous point in the game, much harder. So I think you should usually avoid that item in Nightmare. The Cursed Nail will take, that'll get me to 10 engineering, so it's just plus 3 damage on all our weapons, which is great. And we'll buy the spoon here as well. I'm going to reroll once for 13, and I'm not going to buy any melee damage, so we'll just save our money. Kind of a bad shop where I was left with a bunch of money afterwards, because we didn't roll into anything that we wanted in that shop that we could afford. And I don't usually like to go into a wave with 100 in the bank, because that's 100 that we didn't use to make ourselves stronger. But we're strong enough at this point that I'm really not worried about that, and we'll just spend it next wave. Try to approach the enhanced pufferfish orthogonally when you are a melee build, because they will attack in the cardinal directions, so if you approach them from a diagonal, they won't hit you. Three crates here. Let's see if our double treasure map does anything. So obviously we could take the knot. It would be incredible. This gives us a bunch of max HP, which is increased, multiplies all of our stats, gives us a bunch of percent damage, which is great, and we need more, and the max HP gives us more percent damage. I'm going to recycle it here because we're really strong, and I am, at this point, just having fun. I'll take the black flag, but as always, you know, it's worth mentioning that the knot would have made winning this run significantly easier. We'll roll here. I'll take the attack speed, and then I'm going to buy spoon, nail, and do I want the fertilizer? I think so, even this late. It's fine. Wheat we can pass on. We'll roll again. Jelly shield is great in nightmare mode. I'll take another fertilizer, and I'll buy a jelly shield. I'm not going to take the injection. I don't want to reduce my max HP on this character. We'll definitely take stone skin, definitely take Cyclops worm, and I think we can get away with the pearl as well. Also, by the way, 3 crates, 0 triggers from our double treasure map last wave. So I'm definitely looking for more consumable healing, because as you can see, I am struggling to keep my health full with no kind of natural healing. What we haven't found is a tentacle or a cute monkey, and those would be really strong items for making sure that our health was full all the time. We wouldn't be purely 100% reliant on picking up consumables. But we can totally rely on picking up consumables. It's not the end of the world if that's the case. It just would make this run easier if we had a more consistent source of healing as well. Sure, we'll take the coil here. It's just plus 5 damage. We're not taking Weird Ghost because we don't have consistent healing. I might take 2 regen here. It's kind of an expensive upgrade, but I do just want a little bit more in the way of healing. We'll buy Stone Skin, we'll buy Pearl, and we'll re-roll. I'll take the banner, and I think I will start building some healing, even at half rate, some regen. If I get to, like, 15 or so, which isn't ridiculous, that just gives me a lot more consistent sustain. Especially because I did buy the black flag, and that does make the run a lot more dangerous. Killing both of those blobfish at once was definitely a little on the risky side, but since I knew that the lampreys were going to spawn on top of each other, and we have a relatively wide swing arc on our weapon, I felt like we would be able to kill them all at once. Also, with this many enemies on the field, I can just run into the groups of enemies. Because we have a reasonable amount of luck and increased consumable heal, we can stay healthy consistently just by dropping fruits there. Take the alien magic, we'll take a cursed fishhook, that's awesome. Cursed Cute Monkey, that's exactly what we're looking for. And now it's going to be really hard for us to die because we will be at full health so much more consistently. We'll buy all these items. I will take the duct tape. Even though it costs me HP, it multiplies the value of our really high health when we have any armor. And then we'll do a reroll, and I'll buy the cursed bowler hat just because it's cursed, and I do want, again, to increase my luck here. I will take the spoon, and I'm going to grab weird food over helmet because I want more healing, just in case we spawn an elite. Also, wave 16, with a melee character, it can be sometimes hard to avoid letting the mini-bosses spawn, because we're slow and we're melee. So we want more healing in case we take a couple hits from them. But now that we have a cursed cute monkey, I'm feeling significantly safer. Cursed Enhanced Walrus, definitely a dangerous enemy here, though. They have a ton of health, so even our massively inflated damage per hit takes a little while to kill them. But we've built a bunch of defensive stats, so we can just run at the enemies and tank through whatever they're trying to do, one-shot things like that Curse Alien, and make pretty good income as well. Recycling the Weird Ghost here. I'll take 12% damage, and then we'll just take 12 more max health. I will buy the level 4 spoon, we'll buy the helmet. The level 1 spoon doesn't really do anything for us at this point. I do have a fish hook, so I could maybe try to curse it, but I don't think that that's that important. I'm going to buy the lemonade and garden for safety and lock the metal here. Although we have 200 health and, you know, we're doing 1,000 damage a hit, it is still possible to lose at this point in the run because enemy damage is so high and our healing is somewhat unreliable. So we do still need to pay attention to how we're going to stay alive if we take a bunch of hits in a row. We've actually ended up getting a weird number of dodges for a character that buys dodge at half rate. I also should not have let both of those, like all 4 of these mini-bosses spawn. Definitely sloppy there to let the enhanced mini-bosses all pop out because it just meant I took a lot more hits. Fortunately, with 200 base health, that just doesn't really matter. So I can actually take the barricade here. It's plus 3% damage with our coil, and we do get the armor while standing still. There's no downside, but I think I'd rather still just have 140 materials. I'll take Ugly Tooth. I'll recycle the riposte. It is 1 damage per attack on all my weapons, but I'd rather have the money still. Incendiary Turret is an inefficient way of setting things on fire. If I didn't have a Scared Sausage, which just does a much better job of it, I would definitely take the Incendiary Turret. But as is, we're going to hit enemies often enough that we'll set them on fire anyways, so we just don't need to worry about that. I will take the Cursed Diploma. I could recycle the level 2 spoon for the level 3, and I suppose I will. It's inefficient to do it that way, but I think I still would rather do so. And then we'll buy the banner here. Peaceful Bee for 2% dodge, I think we're going to pass on. I guess I do lose percent damage buying the banner because I have the coil. So coil's now actually costing me damage because I bought the banners. Coil is something that I think you basically should not pay attention to after you buy it. You will often have... if you pay attention to the plus or minus 5% damage, I think you're going to make the wrong decision as to whether to buy something more often than if you just ignore it completely. The question with coil is mostly, does it help you when you pick it up? And usually you should only grab it from a box, or if you have a lot of knockback already. something that I think people often kind of underestimate is how much it does impact your play to add mental load to actions that don't need it. If you try to consider all of the implications of every single action, you're going to fry your brain because there's a lot of complex moving parts in this game. So you do want to simplify and use heuristics pretty frequently. And 10% attack speed minus 5% damage, we'll definitely take that. I'll take the HP here. We'll take the HP there, roll, and we'll pick up 4 more armor. Fairy would be good if I didn't have quite so many level 3 items, because as is, we're going to get half rate on the fairy here, so it's going to give me, what's that, plus 3 damage? Because it's going to be, minus 4.5 and plus 7.5, or plus 3 regen, rather. So I don't think it's worth buying the fairy. We'll take the acid. Tentacle is incredible when we have guaranteed crits from our spoons. I will buy a plant for 1.5 regen, and I'm going to roll here. Lock in acid and roll again, and we have 69 luck. Nice. So we can use the pearl pretty efficiently as well. I think that is also what I was talking about with heuristics and mental load. I think that is a trap that is easier to fall into if you primarily learn the game by watching streams, which is, of course, a great way to learn the game. But because you aren't actually having to push the buttons and make the decisions yourself when you're watching a stream, you have more mental capacity to consider every possible outcome. And so I think you can kind of trick yourself into thinking that that's what you should be doing when you actually sit down to play, and make it harder for yourself in the long term by overthinking decisions that you're making when you are actually playing the game. I'm going to roll here and roll again. Cursed baby elephant, definitely not going to do anything in the last wave. We've only found 4 items from our 3 treasure maps. That's pretty bad. I'll take the alien tongue here. The extra pickup radius is good for extra healing. And then, what a bad last shop. But the level 2 spoon, cursed spoon, is definitely better than the level 3. So we will sell and buy this. And then I'll probably just buy the lost duck. I don't think we're going to find anything else that we can afford that would help. And then we'll go into the boss wave. And as you can see, we have vanished the bosses in less than 10 seconds. That might even have been less than 5 seconds. I'm not entirely sure. But that should be a very straightforward win with the Chunky if you use Spoon. Obviously gets a lot easier if you find a scared sausage at any point during the run, but of course you can use Blazemander, you can use Incendiary Turret, you can even mix in one wand or something like that or a flamethrower if you're really struggling to find fire sources. That is a totally fine way to do it. Or you can just not worry about any of that and just have an extremely powerful weapon with bonus crit damage, with great damage scaling because it's based off of your increased HP. We ended with 250 maximum health and 124% damage, in part because our max health was so high. 31 armor, which obviously is great as well. Our loot worm was worth 117 materials. Our scared sausage dealt 5k damage, but obviously it also dealt, 300k damage worth of critical hits over the course of the run. Probably more than that. Already talked about the treasure maps. These were pretty disappointing, especially because we had pretty high luck. Recycling machine was good, though. We ended up recycling a lot of items, so not only did we find fewer bonus items from treasure map, the items we did find were bad, and even some of the ones that we took were not amazing, like the Estes couch was just plus 5 max HP. 72 bonus stats from the candy bag, so that did very well. 722 materials from Black Flag, plus the extra income from extra enemies, so, of course, an extremely powerful item as always. 122 blocked projectiles from the Jelly Shield is really good also. The coil ended up being negative damage, but like I said, you basically pick this item up if it's good when you grab it and then forget about it forever, is the usual way that you should be thinking about coil. Or rather, not thinking about coil. Fishhook with a 29% pity bonus. I don't know if the fishhook actually ever cursed anything. Maybe this acid, but I think all of the other cursed items we got by rolling into them. And we only ended up with 5 cursed items after buying the fishhook, so this was some classic, really bad fishhook luck. And then the Greek Fire for 22,000 damage made killing the boss a little faster, 32 healing from the tentacle with our guaranteed crits, and that's the chunky on Nightmare mode. Alright, my friends, hope that you enjoyed that run, and of course, if you have, feel free to leave a comment and hit like. Helps me out with the algorithm, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And of course, you can subscribe to my channel for more Brotato and other strategy game analysis. Cheers, folks. I'll catch you next time.